Lovely stuff. Well, welcome everyone to this meeting of the Harpenden Town Council Planning Committee held on Tuesday, the 6th of December 2022. I will go straight to the meat of the agenda. Apologies for absence, Heather.
Yes, we've received two from Councillor Nigel Turnbull, who is away on a residential course all week, and Pastor Paul Cousin, who is unwell today.
Thank you, Heather. Are we minded to accept those apologies?
Okay, that's good.
Lovely. Item 2, declarations of interest. I have some to declare. So I'm declaring a non-pecuniary interest, as personal non-pecuniary interest in 5/2022-2714 at 77 Overston Road. Given that it's close to my house, but I don't think sufficiently close to make a stronger declaration than that. And in 5/2022 at 2611 and 2612 at the Harpenden Public Halls, also personal non-pecuniary declarations on the basis that my employer, Bima Falami MP, has made previous public remarks in relation to the redevelopment. I also note I have made personal remarks, but I come to this meeting with a clear mind. Any other declarations, Councillor?
Thank you. I declare personal non-pecuniary interest in 5/2022-2611 as a councillor at St Albans District Council.
That will also be 2612 as well.
Yeah,
Sorry, both applications.
Councillor Abad.
It occurs to me, given your declaration, Chair, in relation to public halls.
Yep.
Given that the town council was consulted 18 months ago, it might be 2 years ago, and personal opinions were given then, it wouldn't occur to me, apart from listening to yours, whether that's something that we should all disclose.
So I think it's a matter of public record that we've all previously.
Yes,
those
so
meetings were
yeah,
public
they
meetings.
were totally separate from this particular meeting because if we're looking at the drawings afresh, whereas those meetings they weren't detailed.
Thank you.
But obviously, it's up to individual councillors.
No, that's right.
That's fine. Thanks.
Any further declarations of interest? As ever, if you spot one when we're going through the agenda, please do wave at me and we'll take it at the appropriate moment. Okay, item 3, minutes of the meeting of the Planning Committee held on the 22nd of November 2022. It feels like it was only yesterday. Any comments on the minutes? No, all happy to take those as a true record. Lovely.
I know we don't formally do matters arising, but we made certain changes in the procedures to call-ins.
Yep.
Given that these procedures were formally written down in or around August, do we need to update how they were written down then?
So in a sense that probably what will need to happen is the little flow charts will need to be reissued and taking into account the small changes that are relevant, which I'll happily circulate
Okay.
to councillors and make a note of that.
And just in relation to that, as our new process is a positive one on calling in, do remember that you'll need to flag me down if you wish to request a call in on a specific item. And bring physical flags with you. Item 4, Chairman's report and urgent items. I have nothing to report. Do we have any urgent items?
I don't know, not on this occasion.
Always a brief Chairman's report. Item 5, any public questions in accordance with standing orders 22 and 23?
No, none have been received, Chair.
Lovely. Any letters of objection?
No, none have been received directly to the Town Council.
Very quiet few weeks for the planning committee. Applications registered the week ending the 18th and the 25th of November, with note that we have a couple of appendixes as well that we'll take at the appropriate moment.
So, Chair, may I inquire why there aren't applications for 3 weeks as there would normally be?
Because of the way that Christmas falls, it means I'm having to have a pattern of 2 weeks And then we'll be meeting again in 2 weeks' time as of today. Because of the way that Christmas falls, there'd be a meeting in between Christmas and New Year, which obviously is not possible.
Okay.
No, it's not possible.
It's not possible. We need to vote on it. To formulate the agenda to then get it out to councillors with the necessary number of days' notice.
Yeah, and also,
Sorry to keep interrupting. On that, I've had it online by email now, stuff at work, which is fine, but the actual agenda, clearly postmarked 1st of December, arrived about a quarter of a mile away at my house on today the 6th, so the post is not what it should be.
No, so the day that this was published was a day of strike day for the postal service, which meant it wasn't picked up until Friday.
Yeah.
But yes, it was, shortly driving around
No,
with councillors on that particular day.
if it's easier during the strike period, I'm happy to come and pick up an agenda because I read mine on email
Okay.
anyway. So
Likewise, yeah.
save the town council some postage.
I think I do have to actually physically give you a hard copy. I mean, whether or not it's posted is not probably important, but I do have to issue a hard copy.
Just let me know and I'll come.
Yep. Okay.
Lovely stuff. Okay, on to the main bulk of the agenda. We're starting with 5/2022-2616 at land to west of Higgots Hill Lane. Higgots Hill Lane.
I'm just ready to tell you. Okay, so observation for this one is the site is a disused tree bordered open space stroke field to the rear of the indoor bowling club stroke scout hut off of Alderby Crescent, bordered by residential development to 2 sides and the Alderby Park Golf Club opposite. The site is in the green belt but not conservation area. The proposal is to construct 6 4-bedroom detached dwellings with detached garages. The proposed access is from Higgots Hill Lane, which at this point is a single carriageway road leading to a few properties further along the lane, but ultimately ending at a no-through road at the sewer works. There are passing places with an additional passing place proposed as part of this scheme. An ecological survey was carried out with no noteworthy species found as part of the research. Ecological improvements have been suggested post-development. 2 trees are recommended for removal irrespective of this proposal, a cherry and a birch. No other trees are proposed for removal. Tree protection measures have been advised as part of the agricultural report, the proposed dwelling sited away from the existing trees. Additional landscape planting is proposed along the access road, although there are no details of species. The design of the properties is in a modern style with low ridge heights and what appears to be terracotta and blue coloured roof tiles used across the scheme. A great deal of weight to demonstrate the required very special circumstances for building in the green belt is being placed on there being insufficient new housing stock proposed in the district. So although I haven't noted here, there is actually history written here to say that they have had a bite of the cherry back in 2011, something very, very similar, although that was only an outline planning application, which was not only refused by district, but was also dismissed at appeal. So on the basis of that, I've said consider recommend refusal. This proposal does not demonstrate sufficient very special circumstances required to permit development of this nature in the green belt. Concern is also expressed over the proposed increase in vehicle movements along a single carriageway to gain access to and when exiting the site. Policies 1 and 2 of the district plan and policies SS1, ESD1 and ESD2 of the Harpenden Neighbourhood Plan refers. So these just sort of kind of to set the scene, these are the design and the dwellings, and that's the vague. That was actually the outline application that was dismissed on appeal. So in a sense, a very similar sort of scheme to what is being proposed in this location, which is just there.
That's the jaunty road.
Less of a jaunty road, but still accessed from exactly the same point in Higgots Hill Lane.
Could we have the
drawings? Yes, of course. So there are a couple of objections online actually in relation to this that I picked up, which are relevant. basically what these, I think, are pretty much what I've got on the screen. If you want to see the individual design of every single dwelling,
Right.
which plots,
Unless councillors particularly want, I think we're all right with looking at broad open.
I can see them there, so I'm quite happy.
It was just to try
that's
and
probably quite useful this time. We just to see. Yes, but the objections that are online relate to different things actually. So really the concerns relate to the fact that it's a very active travel route for the children that go to Kathleen Mornington School, and is promoted by the County Council as a safe pedestrian and cycle route to gain access to the school. It says, what else have we got here, that it's actually classed as being a quiet lane, and that yes, and they're looking at making some proposals for a safe crossing point to the school's entrance further along. There is currently no pedestrian or segregated cycle path and hilltop walk. Yeah, so essentially that particular one relates to the proposal, the intended sort of kind of proposal to use the route more for school. And then another one here, which was actually complaining about the fact that it's yet again rather large scale family homes as opposed to something that's more marketed towards the sort of social housing or affordable housing.
I think we will open up for councillors, but I think given it's green belt, I think we have to bear that in mind. Particularly given that they've had a fight of this before and it's not confused favourable. Comments from councillors? Councillor Butler.
Yeah, could I ask the officer because I've looked at this, but not necessarily every word of the application. What reasons, circumstances do they give for justifying why they should be going on the green belt? Is it simply the under the National Planning Framework, the bias in favour of development and the fact there's a shortage of houses, or do they give some other reason?
No, they base the vast sort of kind of majority of their reasoning behind the fact that there is insufficient proposed new development within the district. I couldn't seem to see that there was anything other than that. They basically just say that the area needs new houses, and here we are, we're proposing to put, add 6 to that quota, basically.
May I add then that it seems then there's no reason to depart from what was decided 8 years ago. And also just to be aware of the way the wind's blowing. That's where the government announced yesterday that they were going to tighten up on residential developments in the green belt. So, and then we decide on current law, not prospective law, but that's the way that the wind's blowing. So, thank you.
Councillor Palmer.
Took the words from my mouth. I was just going to say that. Yes, I would quite agree with the comments on why it's Pickens Hill Lane just isn't suitable for access. I mean, quite apart from the school, it's not. I don't think there's any special circumstances to going into Greenbelt, and that particular area around there is fairly prime Greenbelt. And also, just comment that if this is what it's going to look like, I don't think a blue roof exactly fits.
I mean, it's
With the
depicted,
rural
it's
outlook.
depicted as blue.
I don't
mean,
well, it may not be,
yeah,
but
it's not grey.
well, it's not. Well,
No.
all I can say is if that's the sort of standard terracotta colour, that looks definitely blue. And if that really is the assumption, it doesn't fit.
Councillor Hill.
I'd say on the sort of access points of that road, I mean, during the lockdown, I used to go down there quite a lot to look down, and it is really popular with walkers and
Yes.
cyclists because it leads onto the
Yes.
Lower Valley Walk.
Yeah.
Quite across and then so you've got, and it's quite sort of steep hill, quite narrow. Like you said, there's no pedestrian, there's not a whole lot of passing place to it either. So I think for 6 houses especially, there'd be a lot more extra traffic. If it was 1 or 2,
I was just going to add on that because I walk down there. It's one of my walking routes. There is also an issue, which they don't address on the narrowness and the traffic. There is quite a lot of traffic of heavy vehicles that come up from the sewage works. And when they come up, it is positively dangerous because they take up the entire road.
Jumping in the hedge, you get out of the way of it.
Yeah.
You're walking.
Any other comments from councillors? I think there might be more merit if it was not, large detached family homes that they're proposing, but, I can't see any merit at all. Because that's not even the need we've identified in Hartland. So on that basis, I think propose that we go with the recommendation. All in favour? Okay.
Would we mention the needs, the fact we haven't, it doesn't mean the mix, the housing mix?
Yeah, I think we can add that in,
Can do, yeah.
particularly around the fact that it doesn't demonstrate the very special circumstances.
Because there are.
Yeah.
Too big, yeah.
Okay,
Chair, I'm going to consider it for them. Would you like again?
I'm happy to consider it for them. Would you like a discussion round, or should we just proceed to a vote?
Well, can you just say that it can be different reasons for a call in? And this is not a huge development, but 6 houses we think are inappropriate. And I think unless it's refused by the officer, I think it merits going to the planning committee to be considered by democratically elected councillors rather than the risk that it's approved by an officer. So
Perfect. All in favour?
That makes sense.
I mean, if it does help, actually, I have had communication from Councillor Paul de Court expressing an interest that it would be called in. So even if this committee didn't initiate the call in, I think we would have been a supporter of the call in anyway. But on this basis, I will initiate the call in.
Lovely stuff.
Okay, thank you.
5/2022, do you get all the papers back? Sorry.
I did.
Nothing. 5/2022, 2698, 42 Manlander.
Okay, it's proposed to marginally extend ground floor level rearward to facilitate bifold doors. First floor level to expand the size of an existing bedroom by partially extending over the existing flat roof ground floor element. The most amount of changes to the roof form to provide a further bedroom, which will be 5 in total. This is achieved by amending the existing rear roof form from hip to mansard. This change does not impact the front elevation, although a single skylight is proposed. The changes can only be viewed from the sides and rear and do not appear to have a detrimental impact on the neighbouring properties, not conservation area and no tree work. I have said consider no objection. Would you like to see the drawings?
You want to see the drawings? I think we're
Okay,
okay.
happy with-
Just note for noting, there is some historical interest, I'm told. It's one of 3 pairs of houses designed by Henry Salisbury, a notable local architect. But I don't see a reason to object because there are no changes to the front of the house other than the one skylight.
Would you like to add some wording in, or are you happy with the?
Don't think you need to.
Any other comments from council? All in favour?
Okay, that's okay.
Lovely. 5/2022, 2708 does not have criteria required for consideration, nor do 2715, 2722. So we're on to 5/2022, 2728, 54 Dalkeith Road.
Right, the property is a detached dwelling with good clearance down both sides to the boundary of neighbouring properties. The proposal looks to extend at ground floor level sideways from the existing dining room over the footprint of the existing patio to provide open plan living accommodation. At first floor level, it is proposed to expand the existing bedroom 5 across the existing garage roof to the front, along with internal reconfigurations to bedrooms to create bathrooms and a dressing room. It is proposed to raise the roof ridge height by 250 millimetres to create a bedroom and home office in the roof space with hip sides to reduce the impact on neighbours and relieve the possible dominance on the street scene. The proposals do not look to extend beyond the existing front and back building lines and do not appear to create undue impact on the neighbouring properties. Other properties in the street present with a similar design and mass. There is off-street parking for 3 cars, not conservation area. I've said consider no objections, subject to no loss of amenity to the neighbouring properties. Yep, so you can sort of see there the massing of the house as it is.
Lovely, thank you, Helen. Any comments from councillors on this one? I can't see any. All in favour of the recommendation? Lovely. Five, 2022-2732, just want to meet the criteria required for consideration. So on to 5, 2022-2706, 28 Tintern Close.
Okay, at ground floor, the proposal just looks to infill the front door canopy into a court. The main proposals are to the first floor by extending the depth of the garage that stepped in from the boundary to enlarge an existing bedroom and create an additional bathroom. The roof form is changing to include a pitched roof, forward projecting extension and a gable from the existing ridgeline to the side. Due to the proposals being contained within the existing footprint of the property and sympathetically positioned with the neighbour's garage closest to the boundary, there does not appear to be any detrimental impact on the neighbouring property, and I've said consider no objection. However, today I went online to find that the neighbour has put in an objection to the district because they feel that the potential proposed extension could be detrimental to their property on two counts. The proposed first floor extension would run from the existing roof ridge and finishing almost at the boundary of the adjoining linked property, and would take out a significant amount of sunlight and daylight. And then the other one is that the proposed extension, which projects forward towards my property, which is the one to the right, it shows windows which overlook my lounge and my front bedroom windows and thus intrudes on my privacy. Would you like to look at the drawings? Yeah, of course. That might help actually, that rear picture that I was able to take from White Boots.
Focus on the main property selection.
I like to assist the committee as much as I can.
I really appreciate it.
And they are useful, these images. So that's the existing. Floor isn't actually changing at all, so we don't need to worry about that. It's obviously the house to the left of this picture is the one that's concerned. And obviously they are lower down as well. But
There's a little bit of a slope down there.
but I think like the garage in between, that the impact would be less, but obviously they have their concerns.
The two garages are adjoining, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
Yes.
They've got sort of essentially their garage to garage.
We'll make it look a bit lopsided as well. Can we have a look at the wider booth? See if anyone's done nothing similar. Yeah.
That's why I'm sharing the reshare thing.
Oh, I know, I just think so.
Right, okay, so I'll just go up here. So the house in question that's being developed is this one here.
Yes.
The one to the side that's concerned. The difficulty is I can't actually go any further up because of its.
I think that rather also speaks to the impact on the streets. If you can't physically go that much further up.
Because there are further houses, but it just the little car obviously didn't travel up that far.
If everyone did it, then turn the linked houses into terrace.
Terrace.
There's certainly a reason to say no.
Yes, I mean, bearing in mind though that these photos here are
Oh,
2009, so there could be changes, but yeah.
Yeah.
According to this, it would be the first property in the street, and it's to be that's done it.
I'm not, yeah, I personally think it's, I mean, obviously we want to note the points about community, but I personally think it's all right.
I mean, in terms of street scene, I mean, you hinted at the point that actually it looks like it's private, the public can't actually go up there. And there's no one overlooking from the other side because those are back gardens
Yes.
from them. Yes.
I think that's probably.
No, I think we should, in fairness, consider the precise points which the neighbour made.
Yes, I think at the very least, we should add some language in, subject.
Subject to loss of amenity, yeah.
I don't think we have enough to qualify whether there would be a loss of amenity or not. So I think I would propose no objection subject to no loss of amenity. All in favour?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so great.
Did you,
I started to put it in the wrong place.
No, I noticed. I'm trying to slow down when you were.
No, it's fine. Something like that, I've standard.
Lovely stuff. Okay, 5/20/22 2687 25 Park Hill.
Right. The proposal looks to include a second floor rear dormer window with a part hip to gable roof extension to provide a larger master bedroom with ensuite and walk-in wardrobe. Neighbouring property number 25 Park Hill, in fact it should be 23 Park Hill, has a similar roof form, and the last house in this terraced line of properties also has a similar roof design. The street naturally slopes downwards quite steeply towards number 23 Park Hill, although impact is reduced as the living space of that property sits some distance away from the boundary line with a garage between. Not conservation area, consider no objection.
Do I understand that drawing correctly, that where there is a dormer, that's the next door house that's
It is.
existing?
Correct, yeah. So this is the existing aerial, and then that's how they're changing it to be the proposed.
Slightly disappointing they haven't taken some of that cladding option next door. The rear, so I don't think it's that much of a problem.
So that's the existing.
Yeah, and you're right, it would match at the rear and the front as well.
Yeah.
Is it locally listed?
No, not conservation area.
Any comments from councillors? No, can't see any. All in favour?
That's agreed.
Lovely. 5/20/22 2689 1 Tiverton Court.
The property forms a pair of semi-detached properties which borders a block of garages. The proposal is to demolish the existing conservatory and replace with a full width ground floor extension to increase the ground floor accommodation, and a partial width extension at first floor level to create an additional bedroom, which will be totaling 4. The first floor extension is positioned to the side with the garages, therefore no impact on neighbouring properties. There is off-street parking for 3 cars, as you can see here, and potentially a garage too, although this has not been detailed. Consider no objection. So the garages are all here.
Yeah, there's plenty of space to park there because they've got the full truck. Any comments from councillors on this one?
Can you just go back to the front view, please? If anyone wanted to make a point about, uniformity and this will look different from the next door, of course, they always look different, so.
Yes.
There's no change to the front, it's just at the back.
Yeah, I can see it. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's not, you wouldn't see it from the side then?
You see it from the side, but the side,
Okay.
yeah, would be, you'd see it from there over the garages.
I
think
didn't have an objection.
I think you'd have to go on a ladder as well to be able to see most of it.
Well, it is a
Oh.
third floor,
So sorry,
Yeah.
but
but it's over the footprint of the conservatory.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. All in favour? Lovely.
It's agreed.
2022 2699 2703 do not meet the criteria required for consideration. So on to 2022 2727 1B Oakwood Drive.
Okay, property is a substantial new build which backs onto open farmland and is positioned at a right angle to the neighbouring property. It is proposed to make small additions in the form of two relatively modest dormer windows to the front and rear, along with a small change to the roof form to provide additional bedroom accommodation, 4 in total. The proposals are in keeping with the style and design of the host dwelling and will cause no detrimental impact on street scene or neighbouring properties. There is ample off-street parking along with the double garage, not conservation area. Consider no objection.
Thank you, Heather. Any comments from councillors on this one?
I
Councillor,
suppose it's been there must be history when this new build was built, but
Not for this particular property.
yeah, it would be history on the one that was, it was part of,
history on the land.
yeah. But that's not.
That's not relevant to this particular property. I mean, the only reason that you give the history is if there's any relevance to this particular application.
Well, so I don't have an issue with what we're proposing to say, but actually, the history on the land when this property was built, but it could be relevant.
I take the point, councillor Lutterworth. I think that the broader thing is we can't always look at the history of land. There are all the other places where plots have been bought and sold and not quite ended up with the history. But yes, take the point. Any further comments from councillors? All in favour of the recommendation? Okay. 2022 2661 is one we're all very familiar with, but doesn't meet the criteria required for consideration. So neither does 2657. So on to 2022 2714 77 Overston.
Okay, planning permission. So obviously this is an application that you're,
I'm still participating.
yeah, but you're,
Yeah.
just for the minutes in a
Oh,
sense, for the recording.
Yeah, sorry.
Planning permission has already been granted for a similar application, although this proposal looks to remove the approved 2-storey rear extension and replace it with a smaller 2-storey front extension, which extends a different bedroom, but does not increase the number of bedrooms on site, which will be 5 in total. Relevant points in the previously approved scheme are to remove the bay window and extend the front living room wall forwards to create additional living space. It is above this that the first floor extension is proposed. Introduce a ground floor rear extension across the width of the property to further extend the ground floor living space. The existing front balcony to be removed and the garage is lost with the creation of a front store. However, there appears to be ample off-street parking provision on the frontage. No trees are to be removed as part of the proposal, not conservation area. I'll say consider no objections subject to the sufficient parking provision on the site. Policy importance and should.
Can we take a quick look at that?
So three parking spaces for 5 bedrooms. Isn't it?
Yes, and there's
There's plenty of
sufficient,
space.
sufficient on the front end. Right, okay, so that's the new schemes. And this one here is what was the approved scheme, so you can see what this is. The existing, if you like. Okay.
It's more violent than I intended.
Useful, right?
It's set back.
not the. It's back there, actually.
It's,
Previous one.
it's remember that. The only thing I'd say, and I guess it's the front elevation where it's slightly out of keeping with the other properties.
It is
Yes,
a cul-de-sac within it.
that is,
And there are other properties. I think I'm right in saying, I'm testing my memory of it now, but I think I'm right in saying that the properties opposite are different from these ones.
oh, right.
Did you want to go to the street scene?
If we can.
Yes, if I
just-
could, because I'm just
my
looking at the
memory.
design, I'm just noticing it's not in keeping with the,
Yeah,
the other properties.
That the,
But actually, this is already approved. So that
Yes,
the difference is.
is minimal, yes.
if you-
Yes, so
that's
it's already
approved, this is-
approved.
Yes.
Yes, it was confusing me. Yes, it's
Yes.
already approved. Yes, so it's
Right.
irrelevant.
these
Well,
ones look like
it's slight
they've got
difference,
that
but-
same-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a similar, but that's.
That's all right, sorry, I missed that. Apologies.
Because they've already got that front. Yes, you're right.
Yes,
forgotten
it
the
is,
front
yeah.
porch has
So it's
already been
likely
approved.
And the other side,
The other side looks to be very, very similar, but just
Yes.
different materials.
The front porch has already been approved, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a feeling at least one of these has changed, but I'm now starting to doubt my memory.
I think what characterises them so much is this sort of balcony, isn't it?
Yeah.
That sort of veil.
yeah, that is true, they're losing that.
Any further comments from councillors? Okay, all in favour of the recommendation? Okay. Just because I'm conscious of what's coming.
So may I make a suggestion,
Yeah.
which is entirely up to you or up to the committee? If we skipped over this particular one, which may take quite some time, we would keep up the momentum on the rest of the agenda and we'll come back to this one. That might work better.
I think, I mean, we'll have to take it at some point. I think I take it now and hope that we can keep up the momentum again later on. Particularly given there isn't.
There's
Great
not
speak
too
on
many
the-
more actually, to be fair.
So are you all set?
I'm ready, yes, yeah.
Cool. I will take, if I may, because I think they are in fact basically the same application, 5/2022, 2611 and 2612
They're
together.
exactly the same.
So we've got applications 5/2022, 2611 and 2612 at the Harpenden Public Halls at South Down Road. We note the declarations that have been made. So that's
Do indeed,
amazing.
yeah.
Okay, your observations on this one, I mean, obviously there's a lot. So you want to
Yes,
give us an
so-
overview?
Yeah, I mean, well, you can read here that clearly this is, the town council have been involved with previous discussions in relation to this particular site. And I shared with the agenda pack the minutes from the two most important sort of meetings from that. So, yeah, I've done sort of very broad observations relating to this particular application. There's an awful lot of drawings that relate to it. So the relevant observations is that the existing building is no longer fit for purpose with evidence of asbestos throughout, and there is no heritage importance. Okay, planning permission has already been granted to remove the linked corridor section from the public halls through to Harpenden Hall, which although may not seem important, it is in a sense. The site is in the Harpenden Conservation Area and is located next to Grade 2 listed properties, 2 South Down Road, Harpenden Hall, and separately that particular property's boundary wall and gates are also Grade 2 listed. Also in close proximity are locally listed shops with residential space above, and it directly sits opposite the Harpenden Common. Proposal consists of 4 blocks. Block A, which if I just move along to the drawings to help sort of set the scene. So Block A is a row of 3 townhouses of 2/3 stories running parallel with Southdown Road, starting from next to number 2 Southdown Road, the end of the first block of shops in Station Road.
Sorry, can I just clarify, because it's not clearly visible from
The
the
one on the
distance.
bottom right.
Yeah, so what happens, that's A.
So that's A.
That's C, that's D.
Correct, yes. So Block B, which is essentially sits on the footprint of the existing public halls. So Block B is a block of 5 2-bedroom apartments above a ground floor commercial element, which is 3 stories in total and is located over the footprint of the existing main public halls building. Block C is a block of 6 2-bedroom apartments with a single 2-bedroom townhouse completing the row along that left-hand side, positioned next to Block A and ends partially behind the old post office apartment block, 2 to 3 stories in height. And then Block D is a block of 1 1-bedroom and 1 2-bedroom masonette and 11 1-bedroom apartments located to the rear of Block B and borders Arden Grove and is 4 stories in height. Blocks are made up of 19 residential units consisting of 2 1-beds, 16 2-beds and 1 3-bedroom unit for private sale, 10 residential units consisting of 1-bedroom units for affordable stroke specialist housing. This housing is to be managed by a housing association, Grand Union Housing Group, and let via MENCAP to tenants with learning difficulties. And then 340 square metres of flexible commercial floor space, of which 18 square metres is plants within class E and F of use. And then the site slopes up towards Arden Grove on a 1:21 gradient, which equates to approximately 2 metres difference between Southdown Road to Arden Grove. Public garden to the front of the development in front of the commercial element, and residence amenity space between blocks B and D are proposed. Landscaping is also proposed along the pedestrian access route along with public seating. Public footpath access route through the development from Arden Grove through to Southdown Road. Design is of a simple colour palette with areas of white brickwork with no distinct linking to design of neighbouring properties on Southdown Road. A number of different styles of roof proposed. Balconies are proposed in the apartment blocks to all elevations across the scheme, which could lead to overlooking. There are 8 trees to be removed, with a further 59 semi-mature specimen trees to be planted across the site. Transport, there are 28 car parking bays and an undercroft car park access between Block D and the old post office building in Arden Grove. 19 spaces are allocated to private residential at a 1 space per unit ratio, with 5 spaces to be affordable and 4 spaces for the commercial unit. And I've mentioned here an increase in vehicular movements along Arden Grove. 3 of the market housing car spaces are to be disability standard and all will have EV charging points. The access ramp is to be covered with a green roof system, and there is parking 59 cycles. 35 spaces for residential, 14 for residential visitors, and 10 spaces for the commercial unit. So those really are my broad overview. I haven't, for this particular application, given any recommendation or consideration for it. It's really for the committee to debate and come up with a agreed decision.
Thank you. Have we got any more?
That is at the yeah, I've got a number of images, so I'll go back to sort of the start, as it were. So this is the broad overview from what we can see outside the front of Park Hall looking across. Yet again, sort of setting the scene here where we've got these sort of, the Harpenden Arms and Southdown Road, number 2 Southdown Road, which are the very old buildings. And then along at the top there, the flat roofed existing public halls building. Yet again, just an image here of the oldest house in Harpenden, number 2 Southdown Road, which has obviously got a great deal of historical importance. And then this probably is quite an important one because it shows the blocks starting here, much, much closer to number 2 Southdown Road than what they've actually got at the moment. And then sort of how that the scheme in a sense gets taller, the further up towards Arden Grove it gets. And then again, the large block D, which is on Arden Grove. This shows the levels, the ridge height levels of the existing and then the proposed. Just then again, an artist's impression of the site.
Very large trees.
Yeah. And then this here sort of shows a little bit of a sort of a shadowing arrangement of what you've got sort of there, working your way back up towards Arden Grove. So I don't know if you know, you can't, it probably doesn't show very clearly, but just sort of in a very light shadow it here shows the office buildings which are in Arden Grove, which I think they're trying to use to sort of justify the reasoning for the height of that block D. These images are quite good because we've got the existing and then down here we've got the proposed, what we're sort of essentially will look at. And then again here, the existing, again with the proposed. I have got all these as paper drawings that we can see out in a second. And then again, so this is Arden Grove. So this is the open nature that we're used to at the moment with the car park at the back of the public halls. And then this is what they're proposing to be in its place.
Quite tall, isn't it?
So yeah, it is. And then again here you can see sort of from the other angle, from looking from the public, from the post office, the open car park space to this block D comes down here. And that's essentially all that I extracted as being relevant pictures, but obviously there was quite a pack.
Yeah.
Which I'm really happy to get the drawings out so that you can have a good look at.
Could you remind me, block D, is that, what was makeup of that internally?
So the makeup of block D. Just a second. So it's a block of one bedroom, two bedroom masonettes, and 11 one-bedroom apartments.
Okay.
I think that those actually, the majority of those, I believe, might actually be the ones which are designated
Yeah.
for main
Yeah.
camp.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Before we move on, where's the specific reference in the Newham plan to this site? There is one, isn't there?
There is. So actually, from where I was quoting in the document here, it does cover off an awful lot of the neighbourhood plan, but the one that's specific for the public halls is S19.
Remind me what the requirement is for affordable housing?
What's that? What the breakdown?
Yeah. No, sorry, in terms of what our local plan, neighbourhood plan policies. We have one, don't
Yes, we do. Hang on a minute.
we? I think I was going fast.
I think it, memory, it does meet the ordinance thing, but partly because of zoning cap.
Yeah.
I raised it at the time because I thought, well, very good, it's been no cap because they need a new site, but that's difficulty is for the public outside main cap.
Okay, so it says, well, it's actually based on percentage. Proposals for major housing developments are expected to provide 40% of affordable housing, subject to viability until such time as the new St Albans local plan is adopted with a revised target for affordable housing. And all such schemes, affordable housing will be provided on site as part of the residential development and will be fully integrated within it, other than in exceptional circumstances. Affordable housing should be provided as both socially rented and intermediate housing in line with the latest assessment of needs undertaken by the district.
So just to clarify, how many units of affordable are there in this development?
So
Out of, I think it's 29 total.
10.
So that's 34%.
So it's below.
Unless I'm missing.
Yeah, so
Because I think
yeah, just
Yes.
10 one bedroom units.
the topics of it, yes.
Unless some of those 19 residential for private sale class as affordable.
They don't state that they are, no.
Doesn't
So
say
it
that.
says the blocks are made up of 19 residential units consisting of 2 1-beds, 16 2-beds and 1 3-bed for private sale.
Yeah.
So there, and then 10 residential units consisting of that for the affordable housing. So no.
Yeah, no, when I looked at it, I thought I'd come and clarify it in public in case I'd missed something on the recommendation, on the
So
neighbourhood plan.
did you want me to pull out the ones that are the most interesting?
If you could. Just because I've got Tolkien could have written something slightly shorter than this.
Yeah, so these are all the existing. We're probably not interested over.
I lost the list, so I'm trying to read it.
These might be really interesting, useful ones.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, there are quite a few. I won't bother you probably with the internal layout, if that's, I think they might be a little bit
I think we've all seen,
bombarded by all of the layout of the bedrooms and.
I think we've all seen a block of
Comments
flats.
we can't do.
Yes.
Use this all Christmas wrapping.
But I think we sacrificed the whole.
Yeah.
Well, I think
We sacrificed.
I need to plant a tree.
Yes.
You could get one at the Hartford Public Hospital.
Oh, no.
Just kidding. I've noted that you've written down. I will
But
cover.
I went through them as well. I went through them yesterday, wrote them down, and written them down with me, so
Oh.
I've just rewritten them from memory.
I will come to you first, councillor Farmer.
Right,
We gotta
that's
wait
probably
for-
enough, really.
If everyone has a moment to just reacquaint themselves
Yeah.
with the plan,
Yeah.
then I'll come to you.
Interestingly, actually, there's a very detailed list of objection online that I picked up today, which has been written by DLA Planning on behalf of the owner occupier of the Compton Hall.
Yes, it's the grade 2 listed.
Yeah.
On the, yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
picking out sort of the salient points as to what they've picked up is that the public hall is architecturally an undistinguished building in the light brick, which we've already picked up. Proposed commercial residential block on the south side of the site adjacent to the listed building will have a considerably greater mass and hence adverse impact on the setting of the listed building by reason of the overall height, greater proximity and projection down the site than the existing building. The forward projection and bulk of the new building will detract from the Sylvan setting of the listed Harpenden Hall, which is part of the continuation of the open space of Harpenden Common. They also state that it will affect the setting of number 2 Southdown Road, which is a grade 2 listed building. It says, whilst it's appreciated that existing development to the rear of Station Road is bulky, reaching 3 stories, as does much of the replacement floor space in Arden Grove, it is considered that proposals for the site should scale down between these buildings to the 2-storey form of the listed Harpenden Hall. And then they said that the design is incorporates various scales of gables in order to reflect the local vernacular as seen in the listed Harpenden Hall and other buildings surrounding the common. However, some of the designers contrived to incorporate these details with large areas of blank brickwork which detract from the whole.
And there was also, I think, objections from residents of Harpenden Grove, if I remember that.
Yes.
At least one.
At least one.
Yeah, so no, his,
Yeah.
I read those, that his objections weren't in relation to the scheme, his objections were the fact that they hadn't been consulted.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It wasn't actually, I didn't pull them because it wasn't really relevant to what we were looking at.
No, that's right, I just thought it was worth noting. Are we all ready for councillor Palmer to give her opinion?
Absolutely does. I mean, what I've just sort of raised, some of the areas of concern that I suppose sort of they've already been mentioned. I think particularly concerned about Block D.
Yeah.
It is over dominant, and one of the things about it is the effect in which we have in the neighbourhood plan, that it is a key view. It's the entrance to town and the key view across the common. And quite apart from the effect on Arden Grove, it compromises that view. It's too big. So that's one of the things. I've expressed concern about the design, the area of it that is on Southdown Road, because it doesn't link or fit particularly with either grade 2 listed property, and it is too near and it is over dominant of 2 Southdown Road, which is an extremely important building in the town, and basically it doesn't respect it at all. And those are two of my biggest gripes. Oh, and one of the other things I've said, I'm not very convinced there's sufficient parking. I note if you wade your way through the transport papers with great difficulty because they take forever to get into, it sort of leads off and refers to the fact that it's obviously assuming that, you know, good, excellent public transport. Just comment, it's a little bit of a canard that it's good public transport if you want to go into London or Luton or St Albans. There is no public transport in Harpenden if you wish to go east-west county. If you work in Hatfield or Welwyn Garden City, there is no other way to go except by car or anywhere else. So when people say very good public transport, yes, to a limited extent and only on certain routes.
How short is the parking on what?
Well, I have to admit, I didn't actually.
Looking roughly at the numbers, I think they're assuming that those in the
Yes, they're assuming.
affordable and don't want to have a car.
Yes, so basically they're assuming that some of the properties that just don't have parking, they will have a car. Yes, which is a bit of a bold assumption.
You have further comments?
But I must admit, I didn't actually write down ratio, but I did work out there wasn't enough parking.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I have some sympathy with the district council on the parking point just because of where the site is, but I do take the point that there are sustainable sites and sustainable sites.
It makes us, yes, but there are assumptions made.
Yeah.
That are not necessarily going to come to pass.
Okay, any other comments from Councillor Butterworth?
I did watch the video of the discussion of councillors from 2020, September, I think, 2020, and there were two different designs at the time, and that this opts for the one they were transiting to. Actually doesn't know, it's an amalgamation, because the issues at the time were whether to have commercial space at the front or not. And the town council's view, consistent with the neighbourhood plan, was that this is a link site between the common space and the high street. Therefore, to have residential and something commercial actually makes the link. The contrary view was from St Albans plans at the time, apparently, that they regarded just being part of the common as it works into the common commercial. The commercial has been put back in, interestingly, at a time when you might argue that it's not going to succeed. But that's not our choice, it's there in the plans. The other thing which in that session 2 years ago was not to have any parking at all, in which case the blocks on the north side could be lower, but the park's been put back in. I think that's therefore meant that the blocks are higher in order not to lose some residential units. And although we can't pick and choose here, if we really don't like the parking, then if we really want more parking, then it's going to go higher up if that's a relative refusal. If we wanted to be lower down, then maybe no parking. So it's the art of the possible that we have to decide what it is and what it is now. I agree with that.
They could take a floor off block D, and that would solve both problems.
They could, and it's not our concern what the financial considerations are.
Yeah.
Of course, this needs to make a certain amount of money to um, to make any money, not be a loss to development or ratepayers, taxpayers, and equally it intended to produce a certain particular sum to go towards paying off the loan for the culture centre.
But as I
Those aren't our considerations, but it does mean if it is refused for whatever reasons, it may come back in some other form, which nevertheless meets those criteria. So it's useful to be aware of what the background is, even if they're not planning considerations. So yes, we could say that's too high, and actually it is a bit too high. The office blocks opposite, which may be similar heights, are actually set back.
Yeah,
They're not right up against the edge of the road as that one is. On that side of the road, the old post office sorting office building is the highest, and this would go higher. And this doesn't show.
Because I seem to remember the architects telling us it wouldn't go high, but
Well, can we just look, it's worth looking
Well, I
at.
looked at it and I thought it had got higher, but perhaps I just looked at it.
this one, that one doesn't really tell you, it shows the.
Yeah,
It looks at the very least the same.
Yes, I think it looks around the same from what I can
Yes, perhaps
see
it's the
here.
same.
You're sort of getting a ruler out.
Because it's that's the old post office there.
Yeah.
okay, well, that,
Okay,
Yeah, so
okay.
it looks to be sort of
Okay.
on a similar sort of, not a
It's-
huge difference.
No, it's
Yeah.
broadly the same.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think, again, I made the comment about the trees before, but I do think those trees have been very creatively added into this in order to make it look smaller. Because while they might be that height in real life, trees lose their leaves.
They don't look so high, no.
Yeah.
And the other thing in terms of the post office building, and I know we can't pick and choose, but this has had a floor added, but it's set back, so when you look up from the street level.
Yeah.
You're not,
Yes.
you see that,
You
you
see
might
that.
not see that, whereas here it's gone right up.
Because also with the old post office building is that there is a neighbouring tall building as well,
Yes.
which I think makes it less intrusive, whereas this is a very standalone block, isn't it?
Well, also
Yes.
because of the fact that it's a continuation of Station Road,
Yes.
and therefore it
Yes.
it
Naturally.
feels
yeah,
like
right.
you go from past
Yes.
it into Arden Grove rather than
Yes.
it being part of that street scene in the same way.
I mean, to be honest, I think the biggest concern I've got is the negative effect on the two listed buildings.
At first, being quite disappointed with.
Yes.
Just very quickly, I believe that we are deficient by 8 spaces, and that is not taking into account the affordable, that is purely on the market value properties. So if we included the affordable, it would be 18 spaces, I think, be deficient.
So between 8 and 18. And we're deficient by about 6% on the. affordable.
They're assuming that the residents of the affordable housing will want other forms.
Well, but.
5 spaces to affordable, so out of
Yeah.
10 units.
One just hopes they don't work somewhere there's no public transport.
Well,
Or have visitors.
Yeah.
Yes.
it's said to be let through MedCap. It returns from zoning difficulties. Therefore, it's not totally unreasonable assumption that they will not have their own transport.
No, but they will have visitors.
Yes.
And also it makes the assumption therefore that Ventcap are going to let it in perpetuity, whereas as we've established, given they're moving from a current site to this one, there is always a possibility that they move from this site to a future site.
Mm.
Well, no, but my point is you can't make an assumption based on,
No.
that's not a, there's no fact.
Yes, well, the fundamental assumption you can't make is that there won't be any cars going to the site for whatever reason. Whether
It's-
Yes.
If a resident came to us and said, it's okay because we've got rid of all of our parking, it's okay because I use a bike, we'd still look at it and go, well, a future occupant might not use a bike.
They'll also have staff as well.
they'll have staff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which,
But also, it's not I mean, you think, is it unlikely that somebody with a learning disability would never have a car? I suppose you're gonna, I mean, that's a bit of a jump to assume
Yes,
that.
assume that.
And also somebody would be living there independently, but they might have a car that somebody drives them
Yes,
around
It's
in.
fundamentally, you could argue it's fairly discriminating.
Yes, it is.
It's fundamentally,
And as I say, they will have visitors because
Yeah,
yes.
it doesn't
Some
preclude.
may have a carer.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever, yes.
Yes, and I think it's certainly an interesting approach, councillor Hill.
Yeah, so I understand what councillor just said. I'm comfortable on the height. Partly because it is, it's not, if all that bulk was at the front, from more visible from the common, appreciate you will be able to see it in the common. But because it is at the back of the site at Arden Grove, I'm comfortable with it. I mean, I sort of talk overall, I'm disappointed that it doesn't meet the affordable target. But I do like the design of it. We had some, I was part of the committee that viewed it, last year. And actually, it was they took a lot of care, I thought, in the design. So, and particularly given the fact it's replacing quite an ugly building to start with, there is an improvement. And going back to affordable, although it doesn't meet the affordable criteria, it does still provide a housing mix that we need. I would have liked to have seen more one-bed apartments, particularly that are going to private sale rather than 2 beds. But 1 or 2 beds is still quite similar. Parking, I agree it's not ideal, but because it is in the town and because of the limits on the site as there is, I am content with it personally. Because I think if it, potentially because it's targeted to being 1 or 2 bedroom, some will have cars, some won't. It might cause a few extra cars parked around the town. But because it is in the town, I'm more comfortable with the fact it doesn't meet the parking target because all the flats above all the shops don't have parking. Some of them do, some of them do, some of them don't.
Yeah.
So I think if I pass this off, and I would probably think well, that's not ideal, and they could make improvements. On balance, for me, I'm content with it.
Thank you, councillor Hill. I think, so I think there's a few points that I particularly think about. I think the problem with Block D for me is less the height in terms of the view on the common, though I take that point. I think that makes Arden Grove feel very squished. It's a good word. Thank you, councillor Palmer. And I think it would feel very domineering given how close it is to the street scene. Sorry, not the street scene, the edge of the street. I think that will feel very enclosed. I suspect it will make it quite dark as well at times. Which, while I know there are offices opposite and therefore it's not necessarily going to have an effect on residential amenity, I think that has an effect on the amenity of local people.
Yes.
Given its important location. I welcome the fact that they've got a lot of trees, because I think it's important we highlight positives. I think I welcome the commercial element being retained. I take councillor Butterworth's point, but I think it's important that we have that commercial element. I think Block A and Block C are mostly fine. I think Block B, I take councillor Farmer's point on, is it Block B? No, I mean, Block B is fine, it's Block A.
It's Block A, I think.
Sorry,
It's Block A that I've got,
Yeah.
I think could be better designed
sorry, it was,
on where it fronts onto Southdown Road.
So block
Um,
B is the over
Commercial
footprint
one,
of the
yeah.
existing.
Yeah.
Yes,
Block A, I think I take the point, I think it is that end unit is a bit close.
It's
If
a
they
bit,
did- if
it's a
they
bit
didn't
close,
have
number
that-
two.
If they didn't have that end unit, I think it was all
Yes,
right, because then
it was okay. Yes.
you'd have a 45
Yes, and it
degree
would-
angle,
And it
as
would
it
be
were.
fine, but it's a little bit near.
Yeah, and I think block D, personally, I think it's a story too tall. And I take the point about how you replace it, but that is a decision for
Yeah.
the district
I
council.
mean, it's very difficult because you've got to cite when you're going to inevitably end up with one way or another certain compromises.
Mm.
Yeah,
But our job at this point is to highlight the
Yes.
things that we think are deficient, in the hope that the district council considers those when it decides whether or not it's accepting its application, which I always find slightly unusual as a planning concept, but yes, so I think that's, and the parking, I mean, personally, I'm not that bothered about the parking. I think, I don't think it's ideal, but I think
I've raised the point, but
where it, well, I mean, I think
Yes.
we'll include, but I'm just saying on a personal level,
Yes.
I think I agree with
I mean,
councillor Hill.
yes.
It's broadly in the town centre.
yes,
that
I
think
mean, I
it's-
can see the issues, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying it is actually below
Yeah, I know.
the standards.
There's something to be said for, given the district council also have this power, potentially looking at the parking around it and doing some on-street parking to compensate, but that's really a decision for the district council separate to this once it gets built. And I think, as I say, I think broadly those are my concerns. I think they've done a good job. I think it's a very difficult site to get as much out of as they've tried to get out of. But I think it's a little too much cork in a pint glass. Other way around. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Caught in a pint glass.
Yeah, that's.
yes, we know what you mean.
I hate when I get phrases wrong. I think they've just tried, it, for me, it's a little bit overdevelopment. It's too much in the space that they've got.
And in particular, A obscures the view of the number 2 South Down Road,
Yes,
and D, as well as the height from, you said,
yes,
partly alters the view of Hovland Hall, so it's impacting
yes.
2 listed
And-
buildings.
Just, I mean, if you look at that picture, you're right, it's a little bit too full, isn't it?
Yeah. Just a question, Heather. Do you know how it stacks up in terms of required amenity space? I assume that they've made it work, but it looks quite tight.
They have, because what you have to factor in is that it's directly opposite Harpen Common.
Which is,
So, yeah, so the percentage is less required.
of course it is. It's just a question.
No, it's fine. It's a valid question, but yeah, due to its close proximity to Harpen Common, the requirement is.
Yes, I don't have a problem with whether they've got enough amenity space, I just think it looks slightly cramped.
I'd also, just on that frontage, raise a potential concern about highway conflict, given I think they're making that not public highway, that front.
Yes,
Turning circle, yeah.
Is it still a turning circle?
It is now, but isn't that?
But
Yeah.
that looks like the path.
No, it's that's actually the public garden.
So that's not.
The area,
that's
what
the-
you're talking about, this little area here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. so
Yes,
you
this
park
is
on one of those-
garden.
We park on one of those
Yeah.
south that ones.
Yeah,
south
so
of road.
these bays will still be retained, I'm fairly sure, because this is normal highway.
Yeah, I just
So then
think,
it's a tight turning circle. I mean,
So it's effectively where
You
you
almost
have,
have to
where
reverse
you have
out
the
into-
little,
Like a sort of
Where you-
hammerhead.
where you have the
sort of thing.
little turning
Yeah.
bit.
Quite
when
often
it
there's
was-
cars parking those hammerheads, so you can't.
Yes,
even- you
I
really
know,
can't
it's
reverse
the-
it.
yes,
it was
Whether
just,
they're meant to, I don't know.
just an observation that currently I know a lot of people
Yeah.
use that extra highway space to,
I avoid driving down there, you can find yourself stuck.
yes. Well, so do I, I park on our
Yes.
road, if I have to. Drive somewhere else. But yes, I think I was just raising that as a thing that I've noted. Okay, now we have to have the coming to a decision moment. So
I've jotted down various sort of kind of notes that councillors have raised,
beautiful.
but I haven't obviously formed it into any
No, I
sensible
know.
recommendation.
So I think we need to decide as a first basis, we've I heard all the arguments. I think we just need to decide on a recommendation at this juncture, and then we can fill out the wording based on the recommendation. Now, as I often do when we have controversial ones, I will start at the hardest recommendation we can give and work our way downwards, because I think that's the only fair way to do it. So I will start by asking councillors to indicate if they would like to recommend refusal to this application. Okay, lovely. Who would like to express concern?
Okay.
Okay, well, that was unanimous. Okay, and I think on the basis that we've got here, are you able to?
Yeah, if I can just run through
Yeah.
with what I've got here, sort of kind of try to pick up the sort of the general points. So I think with the main issue we've got here relates to block D, being that it's over dominant. Councillor Farmer raised about the key view across to the common, but then also it was raised about the dominant effect that it could have on Arden Grove with its close proximity to the street boundary. I won't say that we feel that it's a story too high, but we can say that it's just, yeah, that it is overly tall. I've got mention here about the design that doesn't link to the grade 2 listed properties. Do we
Yeah.
feel that we'd like to still include that?
Well, yes, it obscures the view of, block A obscures the view of 2 South.
I think it's the impact.
Okay, so it's more, so I think, I mean, the design related to sort of kind of the materials and the actual look of it. So are we less phased by sort of the actual, the design, the sort of kind of the way that
So just
it looks?
on 2 Southdown, I think the point is that at present, if I'm correct,
Because I think
you can look along here and see 2 Southdown,
Yeah.
and this in the way, you
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah, so, okay, so you want me to still be saying the wording of the design, sort of the design
Can
and,
we?
an
can we
impact
specific
on-
To South.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, the design and impact on number 2 Southdown Road. Do we want to make any mention at all of Harpenden Hall in the fact that it's?
Well, sorry, it's not just design, it's the fact.
it's the actual too near, it's too near, it's
Yes,
actually.
so I did say, so I did say that, so sort of like the detrimental impact
Yeah. Yes.
on Southdown and
Yeah.
on 2 Southdown Road.
Yeah.
So do you want to put something in, including
Design
proximity?
and proximity.
Proximity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, so, yeah, okay, I'll use the word, yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay, just I've got it noted down in a couple of places.
It's always the problem with doing one of these exercises where we have to do it on the.
No, it's fine, no problem at all. How do we feel about the parking provisions? So obviously we are recognise that it's deficient, but do we feel less moved
I think
by
we-
that due to its sustainable location?
I would note that the
Yeah,
parking
I'm
is.
going to say,
Okay.
you haven't
Yeah.
raised it, I would just be happy that we just note it doesn't meet parking standards.
Maximum.
Express
Yeah.
concern about user question doesn't mean parking standards. so-
Yes.
Do we want to mention about that the affordable housing element is deficient by 4%? Yes. Okay,
It's
so we-
6%.
6, sorry.
I think, unless I've done my maths wrong.
Yeah,
Get
okay.
the calculator out. Yeah, well, 5.5%. So. Round off.
Round up, yes.
So,
Pulling
okay,
down,
that's
round up.
fine. Right, I've mentioned about block D, we reckon already. So then we've saying here that we feel, we can definitely work on the basis of positives here. So we welcome the trees, we welcome the commercial element. Do we want to state that we're actually feel that blocks B and C are, are acceptable?
I'm happy to start. I mean, I said that.
Which
so I'm
essentially
obviously
the
happy
left,
to
the
say
left-hand one
Yes.
with the, so yes, so B and C is kind of the furthest, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
fine.
think it's
yeah,
helpful to say it,
yeah.
so if
Yeah.
they, when they review the,
Yes.
they can say, well, actually, rather than start messing up with B and C, which I think are a problem.
Do you want to make reference to that actually, that block A, is generally acceptable, however, the close proximity to number 2 Southdown Road, do you have concerns about?
I think, I mean, again, this is something I said, so I'm happy to say it. And I think, broadly speaking, as I said, if you just locked off that final one,
Yeah, it would be okay.
it'd be okay.
Okay,
It's
no,
just
that's
too
fine.
close as it stands.
And then, essentially, really, that's all that I picked up.
Do you want to say something by reference to S19 and something a bit conciliatory along the lines of suggestion? that it's a very difficult site to design for.
Yeah.
And we appreciate that the sort of applicant has spent a long time reaching this point in the design.
Yeah.
And referring to S19, and noting that clearly the new cultural venue is in place where it was centre, and that in principle, there are many aspects of the design which are tracking S19 do demonstrate public benefits outweighing demolition of the public halls.
Right, I'm giving away your
No, it's all right.
many for plan now.
And we appreciate that there's an element on the ground floor benefiting gateway location, namely commercial development. But we appreciate that there is some parking provision, career of adequate. And then go on to say our
Yeah.
points.
So I think
Because I think that reflects what Harry was saying, and that actually, it's not bad.
Yeah,
So
it's not bad.
let's say that.
Yeah.
But it's not
It
bad.
could,
but
it could do with a bit of tweaking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
not bad,
think-
could be better.
I think what-
totally negative.
what we do is, I think we would begin by saying, these are the
The
positives.
positives, yeah.
So,
yeah.
we like, I never remember which ones are, B and
So we
C.
like B and C.
We like B and C. We think that they've done well to get all the trees on. We understand that they've had it's a difficult site to
Yeah.
do things for things that.
That a
council
number
have
of,
just said.
elements relating to policy S19 have been addressed.
Yeah.
So I can
Yeah.
expand on a few of those there.
I think it's SI.
Oh, is it SI? Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes,
the next
it's social,
SI.
yeah, so it's
SI10.
under, yeah.
But yes,
Something on H1 about how, although it doesn't meet the affordable criteria as we'd like.
I think where we're raising a negative, I think we raise it as a
Under,
negative.
yeah, so we can say that that all the positives, however, the committee expressed concern on
Yeah.
the following elements.
I think it's difficult to say well done, but not quite. I just,
Yeah. Unless we say something.
while we appreciate an effort has been made to include affordable housing, we note that the application is still deficient, could work as a set of wording.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I would be loath
Yeah.
to be more positive than that, given that they are. If they were closer, if it was like 38% that they've got, it's the fact that it's less than 35.
Yeah.
It's just over a third rather than 40%.
Just something about. We signal an intent that, look, we're happy with quite a large number of residential units on the site.
Yeah.
Because.
I mean, frankly, if they'd have made the affordable housing work, I think I would have been slightly more positive towards some of the other bits of it, but
Yes, it's the accumulation of
Yes,
each.
Yeah.
H1, yes. I mean, the one thing that I probably wouldn't have compromised on is 2 South Down Road.
yeah. Yeah. And again, as I said before, you can make the affordable housing work by removing non-affordable housing. So, maybe then cutting a couple of units out that achieves what we look for.
Just wondering whether those are words from, I've underlined, whether they're from the working party, whether to use those two sort of phrases.
In the context of the positive bit, sorry, councillor Butler.
Well, a balanced approach, so, but we've taken a balanced approach,
Yeah.
so we have the following.
Yeah.
Concerns.
Yeah, so just to.
Right, okay, let me just get those, the wording there. So this is.
To reference the balanced approach.
Yeah.
I think we've demonstrated we understand with the wording. that we
Constraints.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want to think we'd come to so just if,
Yeah.
we speak to academic.
Yeah, okay, and then the balance. Yes, okay, yeah.
And the other one, I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, that was the bit about understanding the character and strength and challenges.
Yeah, well, I was saying that as well.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, so I think that's
we are.
probably, we
with-
probably will, that's how we'll
Yeah.
probably start.
And then once we've gotten through, so thank you for that, councillor. Once we've gotten through the the bits that we like, then we go, but overall we
We're a
express
little bit
concern,
concerned about this, isn't it?
on the basis of, yes.
Okay.
Have we got everything?
Yes.
Lovely. I would propose, given the nature of this, that, I don't know if a call-in is possible on this, given it's district council, but I think we probably should have this decided by elected councillors, if that's an option.
I'm just going to say, which committee will it go to?
Well, there's only one.
Oh, they don't have the one for.
We don't have referrals anymore.
I think because,
oh,
because
Okay,
SAD, as you're probably about to say, because SADC is the applicant, it will go to the committee.
yes, it will go to the committee,
Yeah.
yes.
In which case we don't need to.
Given we don't know always what rules they've altered and not altered, perhaps we could resolve to initiate a call-in, but if before we actually do it, the
Yeah.
officer inquires whether the constitution still requires it to go to a committee anyway, in which case we don't need to do a call-in.
Yes.
But I'd rather do it on a precautionary basis,
Yes.
resolve we do,
Yes.
and then not do
Yeah,
it.
Yes, because I
That
was
makes
just,
sense.
yes, it was just crossing my mind to wonder whether it actually, well, we could anyway to cover ourselves.
I think
I'm not
let's,
sure whether it would
let's vote for it and
If it's not
discharge our
necessary, yes,
obligation.
It might become, yeah,
Yeah.
it might become redundant.
Yeah.
yes.
Because if we initiate a call in, they tell us
Yes.
it's going to be called in anyway, we've still achieved our end.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking of the sheer scale of it, that
Yeah.
it's unlikely would be left just to an officer position.
But also given it, the district council is the
Yeah,
applicant.
yeah.
Yes.
So all in favour of calling?
Okay, I will do my research first.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I will do badger me if I haven't gotten back to you on approving the wording, because
That's okay.
I'm aware sometimes I'm a little slow.
No, that's okay. Let me just double check to see. Yeah, I may have to badger you because I think the deadline for the calling, actually, no, the deadline for the calling, this is next Friday, actually, so no, it's not so worrying.
Still badger me anyway, it's good for me.
Right, do they have all the drawings back?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Keep you warm by,
Yeah, all fine.
using it to power the town council boiler for the oven. Lovely.
Just one more thing on the commission. The text from the working party said recommend that preferred way forward to Upton Town Council full council for its support. The full council doesn't have any role in this at this stage now, does it?
No, I
What
think
does
it's been
that mean?
decided that we will, that I think initially it was planned that it was going to go to council, but I think that Carl has spoken to the mayor and deputy, and it was agreed that actually it
Right.
could be devolved solely to this committee.
Which is
Yeah.
normal.
It's the most appropriate. Speaking.
To be
speaking
fair,
rather than if you look at-
because I,
Speaking as the chair. But yes, no, I think it's the most appropriate council body for it. to come. I think trying to have had this conversation with 16 councillors in a room might have been significantly
more
longer.
tricky. Okay, right, moving on now.
5/2022 2652 at 138 Station Road.
The house on the screen there. So it's proposed to demolish the existing rear conservatory, just move to that one, and replace with an almost full width extension which extends 2 metres beyond the rear building line of the neighbouring property. At first floor, it's proposed to create an additional bedroom by extending partially over the proposed ground floor extension, but is stepped in from the boundary and takes into account the 45-degree visibility zone for number 140 Station Road. Loft conversion is also proposed with rear Velux windows to provide a fourth bedroom, following the reallocation of the existing fourth bedroom to become a bathroom. No changes are proposed to the frontage, not conservation area. Consider no objections, subject to no loss of amenity to neighbouring properties. Policy 72 of the district plan and ESD 2 of the neighbourhood plan affairs. There is actually a letter of objection online from 136A, which is this one just here, to say that my kitchen window would face a brick wall at a distance of 6 foot. This will impede light into the kitchen and on the working surface under the window. The same proposed wall facing the upstairs window will entirely block out light at the top of the stairs and landing. This is a safety issue. 2 proposed windows on the ground floor level adjacent to my kitchen window will mean there is a loss of amenity. I think that's what she's meaning to say. The proposed building extends the footprint of the existing previously extended building. That's Ladies' concerns.
You have that. Do you want to see the plans first?
Okay, so those are the proposed and existing actually on this.
That's all the pictures we have.
Yes, yes, so just the front and then that. Yep. Drawings, if you can see, well, it's sketchy.
All right then.
Yes. It doesn't tell you a lot.
Block plan.
There's nothing
No.
to put it in context.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
The one that's on
It's what's
screen,
on the
yes.
screen.
Yes.
How far up Station Road is it? And then 138, but
It's actually much further down. It's down towards almost opposite Marquis Lane.
Oh, yeah.
Before,
It's
yeah.
quite- yes,
Beyond it, it's beyond.
yes, it's a
Yeah.
long way, quite a long way down.
It's
Is it so back? Or is there some?
So it's-
Quite a bit flat on.
I think they're quite near actually.
No, they're not, no, they're,
hugely,
no, they're not.
no,
No,
it's
they're
quite
actually
close
fairly
to-
near the road.
Some of the driveways there actually
I'll
almost
show you.
overhang the pavement.
Yes, but they're actually pretty far
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
They're sort of near the bend, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yes.
And, yeah.
Yeah, so I think the house in
They are
question
flexible.
is this one.
More or less.
Actually,
It is more or less on the bend, yes.
It's actually this one here, I think. No, it's that one. Sorry.
It's that one.
Yes, apologies. Yeah, it's that one there.
And so that one is the one that's the lesser.
So this one here is the one that was concerned about the impact on their window. But you can see the neighbouring property, which really is the side that I'm concerned about, is much taller.
Yeah.
Bit of an odd one.
They really squeezed.
Yes.
Those
It's
6
definitely mixed at end station.
It's very mixed at that little junction.
Yeah.
The fact that the neighbouring property is 136A tells you that clearly that was an infill.
That's an
It
anyway.
looks quite a bit small, doesn't it?
Yes,
That
I
one-
mean, yes,
that's
it's
the one
obviously,
there.
it's obviously an infill.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's this hill going down.
Yes.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
actually
yeah.
just, I
You can
think,
see the slope on the road.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's unusual to find it's further down the hill that's taller.
It's almost like a cottage sort of.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I'm not. It's difficult to tell from that picture whether it's going to be hugely different from the
let me see
one
if I
three
can
eight,
come
but
out.
it is already.
I don't think it changes. I mean, the back is where the majority of the changes happen.
Yes,
And I think if there is a loss of amenity, obviously that needs to be considered, but I don't think we have enough information to say that there isn't.
but no, I was going to say, I can't tell from what I've got in front of me whether there is any loss of,
In which case, I think we do
well, we just do the old subject
what
to,
we've done.
Yeah, I think
subject to no loss of amenity.
Yeah.
They have shown, I think, the 45-degree visibility zone being
Yes.
drawn in.
Yes,
Yeah, but they've shown it to this side,
Yes.
whereas
Yeah.
it isn't the people that's concerned.
it's just not
with this side.
possible to tell from what we've got in front of us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's partly the nature of being an infill house.
Yes, and there's always the problem, if you're a small infill property sandwiched between two bigger properties on either side.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, it's sort of caveat emptor, isn't it?
The nature of the.
Okay, Unless there's any other comments, I propose that we go with the recommendation. All in favour?
Okay, that's true.
Lovely. 5/2022/255 does not meet the criteria required. So on to 5/2022/2767 at 88 Need Way. I said Need Way in a weird way. Then.
That's good, isn't it? The single-storey rear extension to the main house is modest and essentially squares off the rear elements of the property with a flat roof. The most significant element of this proposal, I'll just move to it. This proposal is the installation of the outbuilding along the boundary with number 90 Mead Way, which is to house a garden room, a gym, sauna and storeroom. The outbuilding extends just over 22 metres along the boundary and is 3.5 metres in height with a flat roof. The drawings state that there is a difference in ground levels between number 88 and 90 Mead Way, which will reduce the impact, although I believe that the outbuilding will still be visible to number 90 Mead Way, as only a 2-metre closed board fence with trellis above is depicted on the site boundary, and existing conifer hedging is due to be removed. And I have said, consider express consent that the proposed outbuilding will have a detrimental impact on number 90 Mead Way in terms of the scale, bulk and massing. Policy 72 of the district plan and policy ESB2 of the Hartland local plan plans. Would you like to see the drawings?
Does anyone want to see the drawings?
Yes, please. I don't think.
3.5 metres high, that's quite high, isn't it? For a single story.
It is, yeah. I mean, they do seem to imply that the ground is sort of cut away bits, but it's still. Are you interested in the bits to the main house or just really to the outbuilding?
Like the
Me, but the other.
Yeah. Use that one. That shows the fencing solid.
It's interesting, though, because
Massive
incredibly
brick wall.
rich to a house. Very, very large. It's quite tall, isn't it? Yes.
Mm. I think permitted development outbuilding, I think for 2.2 metres.
Well, if you don't see only Farland's house, it usually took.
Yes.
I obviously don't know who this person is.
Well, no,
Neither do
we're
we.
guessing. We're speculating. That's the
Yes,
word.
speculating, all right. Well, it's a bit, I mean, that's pretty, yes.
Is an outbuilding or a pool or what is it?
It's nice. It's
There's-
going to be a
Swimming pool's
gym.
already
There's a
there.
pool already there.
Swimming pool's already there, so
Oh,
it's going to be a
I see.
Yeah,
gymnasium.
so essentially it's going along, so the swimming pool's already there, it's going along here.
Yes.
And it's right along the boundary as well.
Quite chunky.
It's not, it's hard to tell, but that doesn't look like a very big garden, really. I don't know.
That's
I think
quite.
it goes
it's
beyond-
quite- it's
It
quite-
goes beyond the swimming pool, but that section where it's due to go is not the biggest.
No. We'll take this.
Oh, so the swimming pool's not in the garden?
No,
Yeah,
I
so-
don't think so, no,
No.
it continues on.
Yeah, I mean, if like this, yeah, I mean, it's quite a big garden.
But
It's not
actually-
this side of the swimming pool. what-
The moon.
The swimming pool actually is no longer there like that. It is still in the garden, but it's repositioned.
Oh, right, yeah.
So actually,
You're all American.
because it says on the drawing.
Which you didn't circulate.
Circulate that.
Yeah, I did, sorry. Okay.
It's on the table.
Yeah, you can see the outbuilding.
Oh, so
Yes.
it's now like.
So actually,
It's
the outbuilding,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, the outbuilding goes over the footprint of the swimming pool where it is there.
You can see next door the outbuildings that are there already on the picture there, so you can get a sense of where it is in the garden.
It's pretty close to the actual house.
Well, it looks like, I mean, on this point, it looks effectively like like a very, very, very long extension,
Yeah, so you can see
basically.
without the gap, we would need that. So-
Yes,
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's,
yeah, I think it's.
yes, So,
Yeah. So, any other comments from councillors?
To be fair, we've got position in the public interest, that it makes it clear in the allocation of the drawing. The sharp drop in ground levels, I haven't mentioned that, but between this house and the next door. The proposed outbuilding will therefore have a low profile when viewed from next door. The proposed outbuilding will sit below the height of the outbuilding existing next door. Not the same size, but so it's probably not as tall
not
as
at all
the
as
three point
we
five
might
meters
think, yes.
suggests
Yeah.
compared to next door.
Well, also given that Leadway is quite a hefty hill, it is
Yes,
entirely
it is,
possible that
yes.
there is quite a steep slope.
Yes.
Um,
I think which we need to on, but there is, yes.
So then how does it impact on the house going down?
It's on the opposite side
Okay,
of the garden.
it would still, if the slope is going down that way, and the
Yeah.
outbuilding is there, it's still, the height of it will still impact on the
Yeah.
going down.
Possibly, yeah, possibly still be visible, but it won't be on their boundary line, which is my sort of initial concern for 90,
Yeah.
is that it's actually directly on their boundary.
Mm.
But if it's sufficiently cut away and there is a difference in the ground levels.
Yeah.
Which reduces the impact.
If you know, it shows it. There's one with the cutaways that
That's a new phrase, so problem.
it's not big enough.
giant sofa.
It's not big enough for the two easy chairs that normally go with the three-piece suite. Okay, so that's the existing fence with the trellis at the top, total of 2 meters. And despite the different ground levels, this is above that, and because the top of the fence is the trellis, it's above the solid part of the fence by quite a lot. Yes. For a meter. And it's not just a small bedrock summer house, it's
No, it's a substantial.
It's 22 metres.
Yeah.
It was just, it was like almost like one room to be like a office,
Yes.
you know, like a.
But if it was the size of the one next
Yes,
door.
yes, exactly right, yeah.
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 So
I
it's just
would
going all the way
be
along.
less inclined to worry about the height.
Yes, if it's,
It's not along almost,
Yeah.
so,
yes.
so,
Well, like you say, if it was, even if it was the same length, it didn't come back as far as the garden, but if it was connected to the main house, you'd look at it and think, no.
you know,
But yeah,
so.
And all it would require to be in part of that house is a covered walkway that they could probably get on permitted development. They even needed that. So yeah, so I think,
They have an outdoor kitchen as well.
do they?
Something called, I don't know, probably going to pronounce this incorrectly, a loggia.
Motion.
Loggia, there we go. Yeah.
I'm not posh enough for this.
It doesn't have a plan of points no motions.
Pardon?
It doesn't have a plan of points no motions.
Well, we can always put in the suggestion of a review, or, you know, an addition.
We will have to cook something up.
Oh, very good. So flexible with it.
Let's quickly make a decision. What we can say.
I'm trying to come up with more puns if we don't move on. Right, I will put the express concern to a vote and see if that floats, because that's the recommendation. Otherwise, I'll move on to further. All in favour of express concern on this?
But honestly, I think that's strong enough because we could recommend refusal. But I think for an outbuilding, however large it is, we have to accept that SEDC will make the decision whatever they make.
Yeah.
Yes.
Express concern, I think, is the appropriate level, but you know.
Councillor Farmer, you voting that?
Yes.
We might have a casting vote on. Oh, no, it's fine. I would have voted for express concern, just for what it's worth. 5/2022/258 does not meet the criteria, so on to 5/2022/266 at 14 Park Avenue South.
It's not too long ago.
No, so, yes, so this essentially is a resubmission of, an application that we had concerns about, but it was actually withdrawn at the district council. So once again, the proposal is to demolish the existing dated and poor condition detached 3-bedroom property and replace with a 6-bedroom, 2.5-storey dwelling with basement, garage and swimming pool and detached pool house. This application looks to address the concerns that were raised by this committee over the previously withdrawn application, which was scale, bulk, height, flat roof design and not preserving or enhancing the conservation area. The new proposal presents as less bulky. Move on actually to help you see. There we go. The new design. So the new proposal presents as less bulky with the ridgeline reduced and the roof form more sympathetically hipped in at the sides. The ground floor footprint has reduced by approximately 2 metres in width, mostly visible by the garage now sitting tighter in on the plot. The overall depth of the footprint is very similar to the withdrawn application with a marginal reduction. At first floor, the footprint has reduced by approximately 1 metre in both depth and width. The biggest change is to the second floor stroke roof accommodation, which has reduced dramatically with the reduction in the number of bedrooms and their size. The design has also changed from the previous submission of Neo-Georgian to a more in-keeping style property already seen in the road. So relevant points from the previous application or previous submission are the existing property is rather overshadowed by the neighbouring properties in terms of height and scale, with the new proposal extending above the roof line of both neighbouring properties by 1 metre, although the proposed ridgeline has reduced by 0.5 metre with the withdrawn application. So from the withdrawn application, the detached pool house sits 9 metres from the rearmost part of the property and is 14 metres in length. The road is set on the curve, which sets number 16 Park Avenue South further forward on the building line. That resurvey has been carried out on the existing property with evidence of that show. Therefore, a European protected species mitigation licence will be required from Natural England. 5 individual trees and 2 further groups are to be removed. No specific detail of replacement trees have been provided, although the application states that replacement tree planting can be included as a condition of the permission. Tree protection measures are proposed to protect the remaining trees on the site. 2 parking spaces are provided in the garage and a further 2 on frontage. The site is in the conservation area, though is not listed, but number 12 Park Avenue South is. I said consider no objections subject to the committee's concerns in relation to the withdrawn application to be fully addressed.
Thank you, Heather. Just on that, if we do resolve with this, would you mind relisting the committees with previous concerns, just so that they have them in front of them?
Yes, of course.
Because we want to make it as easy as possible for the district council.
Yeah, agree. Yeah.
So, yeah, this on here you can see the red outline.
That's 19.
Oh.
Well, so just on that, sometimes,
Yeah, sorry, yeah,
Sorry,
it's because it's the next application is 19.
it's a busy week in Park Avenue.
so often we're looking at something which has been refused by the district council, and we say subject to the reasons for refusal. Where work relating back to our concerns, whether they've been met, surely that's for us to decide.
I mean, we can take that approach.
But because it looks as if we're not considering it.
This is true. Have they included a formal tree planting scheme?
No.
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 That's a fair point then. Yeah, let's have some views. What do we think of this new application? Anyone have any thoughts?
It is not better.
Hugely better. It's much more in keeping.
Yeah.
I don't understand what all the squiggles are already.
No, I was hardly wondering
The
that.
trees,
They're trees, aren't they?
yes, because of the site is quite heavily treed.
Oh, I
That's
see.
the
Oh, I
word,
see.
tree lined.
I see.
Yeah,
Trees in the front.
yes.
Gosh.
So yeah, it's quite.
I think I can do a better tree than that.
But are they all,
career in planning.
but are they all going to survive?
Well, they have, as part of it, they have put in tree preservation mitigation measures, or whatever the word is, tree root protection measures have been incorporated as part of it. They haven't done a tree planting scheme, but they have done an arboricultural implications assessment.
And there are trees being removed, aren't there?
2, I
Yeah.
think, yes.
So we do need to know where they're planting those new ones. They're required to plant under the Hearts and Neighbourhood Plan. Okay, any other comments from council?
5 trees, I lie, and 2 further groups are to be removed.
How many is in a group? 5 individual trees and 2 further groups.
Well, I think they don't actually say, I think that when they say groups, they're sort of much smaller, sort of kind of less important species that are clustered together as a tree group. They don't describe, unfortunately, they're marked as a group.
Never understood the species nature of trees.
So a group could have any number, couldn't it?
Yes, a group is sort of like a self-seeded collection that are very close, or self-set group of very sapling type trees, as opposed to an established tree that will have its own tree reference.
Okay. I think the point with the trees in any case is we can't make a decision because it could be, as you say, it could be 100 until they give us a proper.
Particularly in the conservation area.
So on that basis, I think, given that they've not included a formal tree planting scheme, I think I'd mind it towards a less kind recommendation that I would otherwise be. In which case I would propose the language whilst the committee has no objection in principle to the scheme recommendation, as a result of the fact that they haven't put in the tree planting measures. And then I will propose, as I have done before, the hardest one we can give, and then the next one, and see which one committee wants to go with, because I know we've done both before when trees haven't been included. So all in favour of a recommendation for refusal? Okay. And all in favour of express concern?
I mean, I assume that roost survey is connected to the number of trees.
No, so
Is it
that
not?
actually, no, it relates to them being resident within the house itself.
Okay, but then, okay.
That's
Yeah.
roosting buildings, I think, more than trees. From what I've been led to believe.
I don't disagree with anything you've said, but do we want to add to the wording something like we welcome the changes from the previous proposed scheme?
Don't see any harm. Okay, on to 5/2022 2
No, it's okay, I finished writing.
I will do this. 2561, that's 19A Park Avenue, so far
go there now.
travel
Go there.
from our last application side.
Exactly.
Right.
Right, okay, so this application is, the planning permission is granted for a replacement dwelling in 2021 and it's in the construction phase. This application clearly looks to include photovoltaic panels at side elevation, 2 air source heat pumps installed in acoustic housing along the rear boundary, which borders open farmland, and black wrought iron fencing and gates to the front boundary. The noise impact assessment has been carried out on the air source heat pumps when contained within the acoustic enclosures, and it is deemed that there will be no impact from the units on the neighbouring properties. Property is in the conservation area. I say consider no objections subject to no loss of amenity on the neighbouring properties from the proposed air source heat pumps, policy 72 and 85 of the district plan and ESD 2 of the Harpenden Neighbourhood Plan Affairs. So I did a little bit of sort of kind of delving back into what this committee has said in the past in relation to these air source heat pumps, and there's no real pattern, unfortunately. So the last was 3. One of them, which is at 26 Park Avenue South, is still pending decision, and we expressed a concern over that one. Another one, which if you can remember, was in Eastmoor Park, which was positioned on the front elevation of the property. That was permitted.
And then another one, which was at 25 Park Avenue South. We had no objection to that one, but district refused it.
Yeah.
So there's no real sort of kind of particular pattern to it. There has been an objection lodged from number 19 Park Avenue, which goes into a great deal of sort of very informed detail, shall we say. The gentleman sort of clearly knows what he's talking about, where he's sort of questioning some of the decibel levels that have been written in the acoustic report, saying that it's inaccurate and that certain measures weren't sort of taken into account, and states that actually that due to its sort of kind of proximity to lack of noise elsewhere, that the noise is going to be stronger. So I've just marked on here actually where the air source heat pumps are going to be.
Could you let us know which one of the two 19 is? Because I don't know where 19A is in relation to 19.
So 19 is,
Because that's where the objection was.
19's here, 19B is there.
Are those the actual sizes of those houses, or is that just a?
I think
No, that's, no. They're little sort of snippets and just,
yeah.
That's the garage.
yeah.
No, I think if you look, it's
If I try and find a proper,
Picture of the shows the fence. What's the house fence? I'm just wondering if we're satisfied that's in keeping with the conservation area.
quite mixed around that bit.
like, there's multiple times and it's
Yes,
behind, behind hedging.
Yes.
Front is hedging.
Yes.
So that's what we got on the screen.
You get all sorts of fencing around that.
I mean, you can get some that can speak to it, keep it in conservation.
And do.
I do. No, that's, it's used to go.
Really clear. The main buildings will be.
Yeah.
It's the main building.
Because we had previous objections, I think.
That's what we commit, yeah. That's what you build.
Yes. I mean, the thing about the air source heat pump, though it's at the bottom of the garden, next door neighbours might sit out in that. The site is right next door to the air source.
Yes.
Are they in the corner? Sorry, I can't remember. It's not particularly clear.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's another one though. They're sticking it in the corner of their garden.
Yeah.
I really think it's good. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
It might impact on the next door neighbour because that's why people have like this and everything.
Can I amplify that? Yes, I agree.
It's a block planning, really.
The officer mentioned that we have not been consistent.
Yeah, there's that one. I just want to show councillor Lively the sheer scale of the neighbouring properties.
But it will be at the, it's also going to be at the bottom of other people's gardens.
So that's part.
No.
Oh, yes, it's next door. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Sorry, we've not been consistent and treat that sort of heat pumps because I think we've been on a journey. It's a learning journey, and frankly, St Albans planning committees have been too. And their most recent effort was on 25. So that New South, which is obviously not very far away, where they refused an air source heat pump, and this was their lengthy reasoning, because they St Albans District Council officers commissioned their own expert survey, which disagreed with the one submitted by the applicant, not this applicant, but and their refusal began with local planning policy authority has been positive and proactive in this consideration of this planning application. Yeah, okay, right. So that was refused. Now, there are objections that are quite learned from the next door neighbour, Mr. Yates at 19. I've had less formally objections from another relatively near neighbour, not immediately next door, who makes the particular point that the expert begins his assessment calculation of noise levels at a distance of 5 metres. In other words, he's saying it's okay if you're 5 metres away. Well, Yes, but they put in the corner of the garden, as you say, right up against the fence of the next door neighbour.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't do it on that basis. Because if your next door neighbour has a little patio there, for example, I don't
Yes,
know,
that's what we put
he's
it.
entitled to have one,
Yes,
he's within the 5 metres.
yes.
Yeah.
So, and given, I understand this is the same builder as at 25, and given it's quite a hefty, heavyweight air pump, that sort of heat pump, I think we should do a little more than said here. I don't think we're experts, we can pour over the reports. Yeah, I don't have time, don't have expertise. But I didn't go so far as express concern, but if we're not doing that, we should at least refer back to that statement 25 and the authorities' positive and proactive approach there, and invite them to consider this application in the same manner.
Yeah.
So I think,
Especially given that it is so close to the.
yeah, I think the way that I would, personally, the way I would approach it is, whatever the recommendation, the take express concerns, I think that's what I would agree with. But express concern that there may be a loss of amenity on the neighbouring property due to particularly the siting of the air source heat pump on the property. So I don't think we want to get into a precedent where all air source heat pumps are not acceptable. If you manage to come up with a way of containing it and putting it in the right part of the garden, etc. But where they've put it obviously on a boundary.
I think I was saying that.
So I think it's the specific siting that's the cause of the loss of amenity, not the actual, the fact of there being a heat pump per se. Because I wouldn't like us to get into a position, as I say, well, where every time we have a heat pump coming in front of us, we have to express concern. But I think, as I say, in this case, I think it's appropriate to express concern. And I think I'm more than happy to add in the language about whether or not the district council could repeat the process that they've done with the 25 Park Avenue South, did you say?
Yeah.
With
Which is 1396.
and invite them to do
I
so.
agree, we don't always take this position, but that wouldn't always is, but the point is, when you have a big house, you need a big air pump.
Yeah.
Heat pump. Therefore, there is a reason to inquire here.
Yes. No, I quite agree. My point was more, I think we have to be specific with the reason that we give as to why we express concern, rather than just, no, we're concerned there might be amenity because there is a heat pump, was more my point. Because that way lies precedents and all sorts of.
Yes, but we're following.
Yeah,
Planning authority,
I know.
which is actually what we're supposed to do.
So we're agreeing.
I know. So with that, I would put that to a vote with that wording as discussed in the favor.
Okay, that's great.
Lovely.
Have you seen the air source heat pump on Eastern Park? They drove through there the other day.
No,
I suggest you have a look if you're driving, because it is.
it was like a black thing.
It's
that
not
they
even
put
black,
in.
it's sort of like grey, and it's right on the front of the house. I mean, it is, there's no way it's 5 metres from the next door neighbour, but it is. That's all really, so.
Okay. No, it's fine. I just, one left.
Just the point of information, air source heat pump, if you reverse it in summer, is actually the exhaust for air conditioning. So the wheeze is, we get plenty of pressure for a sort of heat pump, which is okay. But then actually you get air conditioning in the summer, which if you'd applied for, would have been refused.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Only conjecture, of course, and I'm not sure about any specific applications.
On to, is it supposed to be 2022? Should be 5,
No.
2022.
5.
5, 2022.
It was obviously an error in the template.
That's fair. 2/7, I just thought I should say before I, put on the record another
The
application.
2 is another area of the country.
5, 2022, 2761, 15 Hampstead Avenue.
Okay, so planning permission has already been granted for a similar proposal in 2020. The property is a sizable dwelling with space to accommodate the proposed extensions.
There is good clearance down the boundary with the neighbouring property number 15A, Bossington Avenue. This proposal proposes the extension to be set away from the boundary, whereas the approved scheme was along the boundary line, therefore there is less impact. There is ample parking provision on the frontage to accommodate the increase in bedrooms. The design is in keeping with the host dwelling and the Harpenny Conservation Area. Consider no objections subject to the compliance with policy 85 of the district plan and ESD 2 of the neighbourhood plan. I think it's, yeah, just those two images there.
Lovely.
Any comments from councillors?
But it seems to be scaling down from with an objection if you want to look for one.
Lovely stuff. In that case, all in favour of the recommendation? Lovely. Oh, yes, sorry.
I don't mind, I'll find where that belongs.
Did we really spend 2 weeks?
We do.
I will,
Today, 2 weeks.
if you just let me get through the,
Now, what did Queen say? Carry on.
item 8, we haven't received any appeals. Item 9 is the preservation order tree works for noting. Item 10 is the list of weekly St Albans District Council decisions for noting. Item 11, the conservation area tree works and technical applications for noting. The next meeting of this council, this committee will be held on Tuesday, the 20th of December in 2 weeks at 7:30 PM in this chamber. And the next meeting of the St Albans Mega Planning Committee will be held on Monday, the 19th of December at 7 PM. Still awaiting them to adopt my official branding for the big planning.
Can I just note, I think we've definitely approved one calling.
Yes.
With possibly a second, depending on the status of some.
Yes. Lovely. And with that, I adjourn the meeting or close the meeting at 9:36 by my watch.
No.
9:37 according to my laptop.
Didn't watch actually.
It gets lost forever.
Lovely.
You would make it in the army.
Well, 3 of us had 9:30 something and Roger's in about 8 o'clock.
It was only supposed to be around 14, gosh.
So what time did you think you got here?
I was here on time.
How much mulled wine did you think?
Are we still recording?
No, not at all.
It does say we are.
No, no,
I thought it was revenge, actually. Did we there? Heather?
no, because I was preparing for this meeting.
That went well. Good, well attended.